Hi everyone, this is OCD Q&A. I'm GREYMOND. We're going to be answering questions about OCD recovery. These are the questions that you ask below my videos. So the first question is, the exposure part is still confusing to me. I worry constantly that I'm not doing ERP right when I don't want to do past exposures anymore, like making a picture crooked on purpose, touching dirty dumpster, putting on TV settings off from the way I like them, eating off the floor, etc. In my mind, if I haven't habituated to these things like ERP and my therapist told me to do, then I'm a failure. And it's all a mess because I feel like even my rational mind would absolutely never habituate fully to these things. Exactly. Nobody would ever habituate to these things. I think the perfection aspect of this is what's creating a problem for you, and it's creating almost like an OCD thing for you. Don't buy into it. Nobody would be comfortable, obviously, doing these things, and you shouldn't be either, but you should be generally, able to do them. If you're able to do them, that's good enough. You don't have to go further than that. I simply want to let things be and live my life, but I feel like I can't because of these past exposures and the fact that I still don't like doing them, even though they're no longer an OCD theme. Am I making sense? What do I do? It's, exactly what you're saying, right? So you want to just move on with your life as you should. You don't need to continuously do exposures for the rest of your life. You just need to get out of this situation to the point of, it's not an OCD thing, right? Would anybody else feel comfortable eating off the floor and doing things like that? Obviously not, right? So choosing to move on, I think, is fine. And I think really it might be going into other aspects for you as well when it comes to perfection stuff. So it doesn't have to be perfect. You can choose to move on even though it's not, you're not 100% comfortable, because in this situation, no one would really be. Next question is, hey Ali, can you have OCD about real life events or real life? You can, and this is the type of situation where a person will take a simple thing and really blow it out of proportion, or take a simple thing and turn it to mean something completely different. So you're creating an OCD situation which is way over the top from what actually happened. There's also PTSD, which can be associated with OCD as well, right? Where some very serious situation can create OCD. But the difference with just PTSD and OCD is that with PTSD, the person never doubts what happened. With OCD, the person will doubt at least a part of the situation, right? So they might say, well, I know this bad thing happened, but what if something more happened? Or what if something else happened, right? So with PTSD, there's no doubt whatsoever. Next question is, I have been using your method to ignore OCD thoughts about things that I have done wrong, such as disobeying the Bible, and things have improved. The problem that I'm still avoiding triggers, but only reading the parts of the Bible that I know won't trigger me. I want to be able to read the Bible normally again, because part of practicing my faith involves reading, discussing, and meditating on Scripture. How can I make how can I make sure meditating doesn't become ruminating and checking? So the more you avoid, the worse this is going to get. So you have to read the parts that are making you uncomfortable. Sit with that uncomfortableness. It will be an exposure, and then prevent the response of fear. So the fear is going to be coming in, panic, anxiety coming in, but you're not responding with anxiety. So you read something, the thought comes in, what if? And you're not, instead of saying, oh yeah, what if, you're not doing that. You're just saying, okay, yeah, whatever, that's my OCD thought. I was expecting it to come. I'm choosing not to validate it with a reaction. So really forcing yourself not to analyze too much. And the more you do this, you will see that it will start to get better and better. But it's kind of like gaining your territory back. Do you know what I mean? OCD over time took things away from you, and you have to kind of gain it back. And it's going to be painful, and it's going to feel real, like you shouldn't be doing that, and this is scary, and it's going to trigger and all of that. Doesn't matter. You have to keep going, and just little by little start to do things that you were afraid to do. Because it's, if you look at it this way, that things have improved, but it looks like now you're stuck, where it's like you're okay because you're avoiding, but it's not really okay because you're not really recovered. And then OCD will try to gain more ground in some other areas, because if it's, usually that's what happens. If it doesn't get better, it tends to get worse over time. Next question is, I compare myself to other people and envy them because I'm sure that they have the same problem as I have. This makes me want to blame myself. These often come with feelings what could have been of things were different, and I wasn't worrying about this. Will this fade? I'm trying to recover. Yeah, the whole envy thing and feeling that, you know, I mean, everybody would feel this way. If you're in a bad situation and you see people who are not in a bad situation, of course you're going to feel a little bit jealous and a little bit envious, and then also a regret of, well, what if I didn't have OCD? I find it a lot. Also, as people recover, pretty much all the time, people say, but what if I recovered sooner? Having regrets of that. That's very, very common as well. So it's, but it's negative programming for the mind. The more negative programming you put towards showing the mind that you're scared, the worse it's going to get. Because again, you want to show your mind that everything is okay in every way. If you're saying to your mind, this is not good, this is bad, it's kind of, you're setting it up that way. You want to send a very clear message that everything is okay, there's nothing wrong, it's fine. The more you do this, the more your mind will start to improve. Next question is, in therapy, we're working on identifying mental garbage and letting me sit with fear. As anyone knows, with OCD, our episodes feel real. How in the world can we put less meaning on our thoughts? It's like 2 steps forwards and 4 steps back. So the person is saying that the thoughts feel real, and how can you put less meaning into it if it feels less real? And it comes down to a choice. You can't control your feelings when it comes to OCD. So your feelings are what they are. That's just what it is. But what you can do is you say, I'm making a choice. So I'm making a choice not to react any further. The more you make the choice not to react, the better it's going to get. So when you're sitting with it, it means you're watching the thought come in from a position of power, like, yeah, this is my thought. I have OCD, I have fear, I have reactions. That's all OCD. But you're not associating it with anything real. It feels real, yes. Is it real? No. I'm choosing not to react. I'm just choosing to watch it. Watch it come in and out, the thoughts coming in and out. That's what you're supposed to do. And you get better the more you do this. At first it is very difficult, but if you look at it, that for anybody who has OCD, it feels real. It feels severe, it feels important, it feels like you need to figure it out, it feels like you need to do compulsions. You don't need to do that. And it feels like that, like you do need to for everybody. Because if it didn't, nobody would have OCD. So trying to kind of reinforce that type of thinking. Next question is, how can you deal with intrusive words that pop in your head? So words, images, feelings, sensations, physical sensations, it's all the same thing. So that's all part of OCD. I do not argue with them, but they keep coming. Calling names of people, think I wish you were dead, think you were ugly. I don't mean them, but I wish they were gone. So the more you wish they were gone, so you're putting a lot of energy into them, saying, but this is scary, I wish they were gone. You're showing your mind you fear them. The more you show your mind you fear something, the more it's going to bring up to kind of protect you, warn you, whatever you want to call it, right? So you want to say, yeah, I'm getting thoughts, whatever, it's OCD thoughts, really treating it that way, and then they will stop coming in. But it's going to take a little bit of time. So you just have to, just like with all the other stuff, watch it come in, don't react. The panic is going to come in automatically, but don't respond with panic. And another question, I really have strange case. My OCD wakes me up. I really don't know how to explain it, but a mix of anxiety and OCD make me wake up with a bad mood. And this will stay for the whole day. So even if I want to ignore it during the day, the next day I wake up with this terrible anxiety mode. Most people have very bad anxiety in the mornings. This is not just your situation. That's just how it is. there's nothing really you can do about it. The thing that I always say is just get up and start your day. So it doesn't matter that you don't feel well. It doesn't matter what it's telling you. You just not laying there, just getting up, getting going. You have to give your mind something else to focus on. The more you give your mind something else to focus on, the better you're going to start to feel. So it's just kind of like putting one foot in front of the other. I'm going, I don't care. The more you lay in bed, the worse it's generally going to get. And being prepared for it. Like, oh, I'm feeling bad again. This is my morning thing. I'm getting going. That helps as well. But there's physical reasons why people feel worse in the morning, and that has to do with serotonin levels. Serotonin levels generally are lowest in the morning. Stress stress hormones are generally higher in the morning. So all of that kind of creates a situation where your anxiety feels worse. So and also I'm looking at the next question, and they're talking about coffee. So don't power it up more by drinking caffeine and things like that in the morning, because that will just make it worse. And next question is, what is the connection of OCD and caffeine? Can caffeine cause more intrusive thoughts? Did you use medication for recovery? Any natural supplements you suggest for recovery? So in terms of caffeine, I definitely see caffeine making OCD worse. I don't really have data on how it works, but when it comes to OCD, but it works every single time. Okay, maybe not every single time, but pretty much every time. And when people take away coffee, other than, at first they get headaches a lot of the time, stuff like that, but after all that goes away, they do see a noticeable improvement in how they feel. Because if you think of it, it's your mind is already stressed out. It's already pushed to its limit. And now you're pushing it further by having coffee, So and especially if you're already used to having coffee, you have to kind of wean off of it, because it's, it gives you headaches, it makes you feel unproductive and all of that when you suddenly stop. So you feel kind of a lot of the time the person feels like they have to keep going because they can't function without coffee. But the reason why they can't function is because, their body is so used to it. Once they stop for, say, a week, maybe a week and a half, then they start to gradually feel better, and then they don't feel like maybe they even need to have coffee in the morning. So I do suggest for the period of recovery to stop caffeine. Now, I can tell you this, and when I was recovering, I could not have one cup of coffee without everybody around me noticing that I've had a cup of coffee, just because my symptoms got so much worse with OCD. Just the compulsions got more intense, the obsessions got more intense. You could instantly see it. Now I can have too much coffee. And it doesn't affect me. So this is not a forever thing. If you like coffee, you will be able to drink it again. And just like, like I drink it in large amounts. I know I shouldn't, but it's what it is. And it won't really affect you in terms of OCD coming back or getting intrusive thoughts or anything like that. So, but to answer the question directly, can caffeine cause more intrusive thoughts? I believe that it can. Now, and again, this is just as you have OCD and as you're getting out of OCD, so the process of recovery. Once you recovered, no, it cannot. But as you are in the process, yes, it can. So, try to cut it, not stopping it, cutting it down as much as possible. Did you use medication for recovery? I did use medication for some of my recovery. I did not find that it really helped. They kept putting me on a higher and higher dose. I have a video kind of describing the whole process, but they kept putting me on a higher and higher dose. It didn't really make a difference. And eventually, I stopped because for me, it didn't really work. I can't really give out brand names, but it was SSRI. So that's what I was on. Any natural supplements you suggest for recovery? Because I've had OCD before I recovered, I suffered for a while, and I went through kind of anything anybody suggested in terms of recovery, including natural supplements. So whatever is the most common kind of things suggested online, I pretty much tried them all. I did not find that they made any difference for me. Same thing with my clients. I hear all this stuff all the time, but I don't really, people at best will say, well, I feel like it's kind of working. That's really what I hear most of the time when it comes to this stuff, at best, right? Most people just say it doesn't work, but you know, if it is working, that's how usually people say it. So it's a very kind of unsure, maybe a little bit of a difference, but not much. So I suggest ERP, because ERP works fast. It's a permanent recovery. That's the thing that really works. All this other stuff, you know, it's not that much of a difference, except for the caffeine. You know, I do find the caffeine, it just makes it harder. It makes fighting harder. Next question is, you always say try not to deal with it with fear, but actually the scenario is like this. Thought comes in and fear comes in right away. So the scenario does not give me enough time to separate the thought and the fear. And you always say don't react to the thought with fear. Okay, so what I'm saying is, just like, okay, so based on what you're saying, thought comes in and fear comes in right away with the thought. That fear and that thought are both automatic. So not just the thought is automatic, the fear is automatic as well, right? So you are not paying attention to the thought and not paying attention to the fear that comes in with more fear. So, for example, thought comes in, what if, you know, blah, 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 right? And it comes in with fear automatically, instead of saying, oh, yeah, what if, you know? So now that was you. So the thought came in, but oh yeah, that's right. That's you. That's a response, right? So not doing that, because the more you do that, the worse you feel. Next question is, I know that we're supposed to take a leap of faith regarding OCD thoughts, but I keep thinking that disregarding the thought doesn't mean that it won't come true, or forgetting the thought doesn't remove the possibility of it happening or that it happened. You say that people with harm OCD tend to be good people, but I had a lot of problems as a teen and I was always quite mean to everyone, which makes me think that I could have said something bad. I don't know how to get past this mindset, as the thought is so scary. My latest OCD thought is that I've somehow contributed to someone's suicide, as I've had a lot of past friends online who have been unstable, and I can't remember what I've said to them, and worry that somehow I'm going to get a message one day that from somebody, from someone's family member, telling me that I encouraged them to kill themselves or something. Probably a reassurance question, but but have you ever heard of this kind of obsession before? Thank you again for your videos. Yeah, anything to do with suicide is actually very, very common, and harm OCD is very common. Think of it this way, and I guess in context it's a little bit kind of a weird analogy, but it really does work. That if you have a parachute on, you're jumping out of an airplane, okay? The parachute will open, but as you're jumping, you're kind of like, I don't know if it's gonna open, I'm not sure if I want to jump. And this is the position that you're in right now. Well, I was kind of bad. Well, that parachute, I don't know, maybe it's not made that well. I don't know if it's gonna open, right? It will open, but you do have to step over the fear and jump from the airplane, so to speak. Do you know what I mean? Because the more you try to solve it, the more you try to figure it out, the more you're keeping yourself in fear, the worse this is going to get. So you're saying, I'm going to get past it. Doesn't matter. I'm choosing to get past it, even though your feelings are not quite there. So you're choosing to get past it. You're choosing to move on, even though you're still getting OCD about it. And you will see that you did the right thing once you recover. But, you know, you won't feel right before you start to move on, start to do the work. So I find that that's a big kind of hurdle for people, because they start to chase that feeling of like, well, I have to feel perfect before I do the recovery work, and it's not how it really works. You have to do the work first, and then you feel better. So it's just making a choice and then sticking with the choice no matter what kind of feelings you have, no matter how bad it gets, doesn't matter. You know, I made a choice. When somebody actually calls me, then I'll know I made the wrong choice. But until then, I'm sticking with that choice. That's all the questions I have for this video. I do have actually a lot more, so I will be doing Q&A. I think I'm doing it every other day right now, so if I didn't answer your question in this video, I will probably answer in the next one. Thank you so much for watching. Please leave your questions below. I'll see you in the next video.